Hey there, Greg Smith here, and in this video we're going to look at the best tee height for your driver. How high do you need to tee the driver to hit the ball consistently long and straight? Okay, so tee height for your driver. What's the best tee height to get consistency, repeatability, those powerful drives that we're after? Well, the general consensus is that we want that tee height with the driver, so we have half the ball visible above the crown of the driver. So if we were looking at your golf ball setup, we're going to see half of the ball kind of showing just above the top of the driver here. And the idea of that is it's going to give us a nice upwards attack angle. We're going to get the high launch, low spin. It's going to promote an in-to-out path if we've got that correct tee height. And whereas I agree that anything we can do with the setup to encourage the right things to happen with the swing is a good thing, I don't necessarily think that this is the best approach for the majority of golfers. And here's why. So we keep being told that there's no one size fits all for the golf swing. Everybody swings the club differently, and everybody's going to have their own unique movements. And whereas I partly agree with this, I also think you want to be looking for a pattern of movements. If you're not happy with your golf game, you're not happy with how you're hitting the ball, then you want to have a system, some certain key positions that you want to hit to get consistency, repeatability, and power in the swing. However, when it comes to tee height, if there's no one size fits all with the golf swing, how on earth can we have a one size fits all with the tee height? Everybody's going to be approaching that ball differently. So to use the same tee height it's not really going to work. You're going to have inconsistency with the strike pattern. Now, if we have a tee height that's, the idea of the ball above the crown, which again, I like the idea of, that's going to promote a good delivery of the club coming into the ball. The idea is we're going to have a relatively high launch, low spin. We're going to hit the ball long and straight. If that tee height is too low for you, then that ball's going to come more towards the bottom of the club. It's going to be a bit spinny. If we hit it too high in the club, then we're probably going to lose club head speed to ball speed. Again, it might knock a bit of the spin off because of gear effect. It's just not going to be the optimal way to strike it. So really, we want to get that strike, obviously, coming out the center of the club. What's interesting is I've just had a walk along the range, put this driver down a second, and I found 3 different tee heights. So these are rubber tees that I found on the range. So therefore, hitting out of a mat. We've got a red tee here. So this is very tall. This is going to be quite similar to an orange graduated tee height. We've got a blue tee here. That's kind of mid-size, mid-height. So that's going to be similar to a pink graduated tee height. And then we've got a green tee. So this is going to be more similar to a white graduated tee height. So it's interesting that, just walking along the range, we found 3 different tee heights, which again might suggest that it's not the best idea to have this one size fits all approach. If we have a tee height that's incorrect, so let's say, for example, that you've got a strike pattern that's coming low in the club. If you use this big tall tee, or even maybe this blue tee here, you're going to get a lot of shots coming out the top of the club. And that's going to cause a lot more damage than good. If you're hitting the ball out the top, that ball's going straight up in the air. It's only going to go 100 yards or so, and it's almost like giving another shot away to the course. So let's go over to the TrackMan now, and let's have a look at some of these groupings and see how that's going to affect what you do in terms of your tee height and the ball flight you get from that. Okay, so we've come over to the TrackMan here, and we're going to look at some different strike patterns and see how that could affect your ideal tee height and certainly what's going to happen with your ball flight. So first of all, I'm going to bring up this strike pattern we've got here. So we can see here that the strike pattern is low and it's towards the toe of the club. Okay, so let's assume that this is done from a standard tee height. So we've got that half the golf ball just above the crown. Well, if you're going to be hitting the ball from here, certainly low in the club is going to create an increase in spin. You're going to get more back spin by hitting the ball low in the club. That's gear effect that's creating more backspin to help you. We've got less loft on the club, low in the club, so the gear effect helps you to get the ball up higher by creating more spin. Now, if we use a standard tee height and the ball's coming from here, surely it makes sense to use a slightly higher tee height to get that strike pattern so it's coming a bit higher, because we're not only going to get more spin from here, so that's going to create more drag, more resistance in the air, we're also going to lose ball speed. You're not hitting the ball at the meat of the club there, so the club head speed to ball speed relationship is going to be a little bit lower. It's going to be a lower smash factor. Let's look at another grouping. So this one is dangerous. I don't like this one. And again, let's assume that this is coming from that standard conventional tee height, half of the ball above the crown. If you're hitting the ball from here, you're in trouble, because you're going to hit, every now and then, you're going to hit a shot that's going to just pop up straight in the air. So again, if this is from the standard tee height, surely it makes sense, you know, rather than persevering just that one size fits all tee height, to tee it down a little bit so we get that strike pattern coming more towards the center. In fact, if I'm coaching a player with this sort of strike pattern, obviously I'm going to try and make some changes to their golf swing to get this lower. There are certainly, I'd expect maybe this sort of strike pattern from a player who comes over the top and comes steep into the ball. But in the meantime, they're not going to change that overnight. So in the meantime, I'm going to get them to use a lower tee. I would rather this player who's hitting the ball from here actually get the ball coming from here, coming lower in the club. Okay, we're going to get more spin there. It's not going to be optimal. It's not going to go as far as it possibly could do. But I tell you one thing, it's going to go a hell of a lot higher than the player who's hitting it from here, where it's going straight up in the air. So again, you might lose, if you're teeing it down too low, you might lose 10, 15 yards off the optimal hit, but you're going to gain 80 yards from the one that comes out the top of the club. Remember, this is a game of how bad your misses are, not necessarily how good your good shots are. So if we can get rid of some of those disaster shots by teeing the ball down slightly lower, then surely that's a good thing. How about this player? So this is a very random strike pattern. We've got a couple coming out the center, but then we've got one coming out the toe. We've got some coming low in the club. We've got some coming out the heel of the club. Basically, that strike's coming all over the face. So again, do we use that standard tee height? That's the tee height that's creating that strike pattern. Do we use the higher one or do we use the lower one? Well, again, in this scenario, because we've got some balls coming out the top of the club there, I'm going to say you need to be if this is your strike pattern, you need to be teeing the ball lower in the club face, because we want to eliminate these disastrous shots up here. And guess what as well? If we're hitting the ball out the bottom of the club, right, we've got inconsistent strike pattern, which means that your ball flight is going to be mixed at best. If, however, we change that inconsistent strike pattern to low in the club, even if you've got incorrect face to path, incorrect path, we've got over the top moves, because you're hitting it lower in the club, you'll get more backspin on the ball, which means you're going to control your ball flight better than one that's going to be low spin but hit all over the club face. So I think what we can see from these different strike patterns, the low one, the high one, and the mixed one, is that we need to adjust your tee height in relation to the strike pattern until you fixed the part of your swing that's causing the error. So that idea of that standardized tee height, that one size fits all, whereas again, it's going to promote good motions of the club. It's not going to make it happen, but it could promote it. When you're on the course, that's probably not your best option. So what do you do then if you haven't got a TrackMan to decide to detect where you're striking the ball? Okay, well, to save you from having to fork out 20k on a TrackMan to discover where you're hitting the ball, we can use a couple of simple options. So the first one is some impact stickers, some face stickers. So just bring that closer to the camera. We can use these impact stickers to ascertain where you're striking the ball from. And when you've hit a couple of shots down there, it's going to make an imprint on this sticker. It's going to show where the ball is coming on the club face. Another one that you can use is athlete's foot spray. So you just spray the powder on the face and again hit a few shots down, and again it's going to show you where you're striking the ball on the club face. And my recommendation based off these patterns is, if it's consistently coming low in the club face, then use a slightly higher tee to push that strike pattern up. If it's coming high out of the club face, use a lower tee straight away, because that's going to eliminate the one that pops up in the air. If you've got a very mixed pattern, so if it's coming all over the club face, again, use a slightly lower tee height to get the ball coming more towards the bottom of the club. It's going to eliminate the odd one that comes right out the top, but it's going to add a little bit more spin to your drives to give you a bit more control of your ball flight. That's what you're going to do on the golf course. And then when you're at the driving range, perhaps experiment with the standard conventional tee height of half the ball above the crown of the driver, and work at your technique to try and get that tee height so we're getting the ball coming out the center of the club. But don't go for that one-size-fits-all tee height if you haven't got the strike pattern coming out in the middle. Adjust your tee height to adjust for your misses, so you're going to hit the ball a lot more consistently. Okay, so I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you found it useful. If you did, please give a like to the video. If you haven't subscribed to my channel, also subscribe to my channel. Also, if you haven't joined my mailing list, click the link below to subscribe to my mailing list and receive your free guide on how to transform your golf swing. I hope you enjoyed the video, and thank you for taking the time to watch it.